Next to the last idea for you, right? 25 to 35% of the parents of ADHD children are ADHD themselves. It used to be people didn't care. They didn't ask. They didn't want to know, or they didn't think it mattered. Now we know it matters. First of all, it matters that your own ADHD needs to get treated, because we've studied now the impact of ADHD on parents, whether they have ADHD children or not. We now have a series of studies, particularly the work of Charlotte Johnston at University of British Columbia and Andrea Cronus at University of Maryland, who have now studied parents who have this disorder and what it does to their parenting. And you can see the obvious things here: greater impulsiveness, higher rates of expressed emotion, greater rates of disciplining, lower rates of parental monitoring of children, all of which increases the risk for oppositional disorder in the child. So the parent's ADHD needs to be detected and managed, not just the child's ADHD. And also, more recently, it is the best predictor of who fails in behavioral parent training, is the parent themselves has the same disorder. My last admonition to you is one that Leo Biscaglia wrote about 30 years ago in his book for families of retarded and autistic children. In this book, Biscaglia said one of the most important things a family of a disabled youngster can do is to practice forgiveness. And he meant by this 4 things. You better get good at forgiving yourself for your mistakes. You will make them. We all make them. Even raising normal children, you will make more of them. Because ADHD children know just how to push your buttons to get you to do things you regret. So you better get good at forgiving yourself those mistakes. And if Judy Harris is correct, you don't matter anyway. You're not as important as you thought you were. So relax a little bit. It's okay. You know what really matters, as Biscaglia said? Do you try to get it right the next time? It's not did you make the mistake. It's what are you going to do about it tomorrow to make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's a very important idea. One of the things that I think will be very helpful in helping you to do this is to step back to that principle about being a shepherd. You're not an engineer. So it matters what you do, but it doesn't matter that much what you do. And I find it's better if you have the shepherd's view, because you start to look at your children in a very different light, as things to be enjoyed and celebrated and cherished for their uniqueness, as opposed to being mounds of clay that you can sculpt into whatever you choose to do. You just don't have that kind of power. The second area of forgiveness is that of your child. This is harder. Okay. This is harder because resentment can build up. The mistakes are there. The misbehavior is there. You are being given misbehavior 24/7 that you have to deal with. You have had to step up to the plate and become your child's frontal lobes. And it's not easy. It is exhausting. And there's a tendency among some parents to allow a certain amount of resentfulness to creep into this. A wish that you had a different child, a better child, a normal child. And boy, that is just one step away from justifying child abuse. The idea that your child may be doing this intentionally is one of the sources of resentfulness. So you better get good at forgiving these kids their mistakes. They make a lot of them. Right? So here's a couple of suggestions that parents have told me about that work for them. And I love these ideas, and I put them in my parents' book. Number 1, at the end of the day, after dinner, when you're having your coffee or your cognac or whatever, I want you to take out a sheet of paper. I want you to write down all the problems you had with this kid today. Write them all down, every one of them, all right? Exorcise your demons. Get them down on the paper. Then I want you to go to the sink, take a match, and light them. I want you to burn them all up. There they go. Gone. You have now performed the ritual exorcism. The demons are gone. The day is over. Let it go. All right. The second thing one of the parents taught me that she found was so useful is after your child has fallen asleep, go upstairs, sit on the floor in a yoga position, and watch your child sleep. Just breathe in and out and watch. There is nothing more innocent than watching a young child sleep. And if that doesn't renew your batteries and restore your balance to your view of your child, I'm not sure what will. Maybe a glass of wine while you're watching the child fall asleep. But whatever it takes to let these go and to try to get better tomorrow, that's what really matters, not the mistakes you make. And the same applies to your partner or your spouse. Don't get all upset because they're not doing it quite the way you want it done, or vice versa. And then, of course, the last one is the one you're all here for, I hope, as well, and that is to learn more about ADHD. But in learning, you realize that the public doesn't understand this disorder the way we do, that they are ignorant of this disorder and its causes. So you better get good at forgiving other people who glare at you in Walmart because your child is a handful, who stare at you in the Outback restaurant, who look at you as if this is your fault. My sister-in-law has an ADHD son. This is my nephew, Dan. One time she was in Target, and an older woman came over to her and said, "Why don't you control your child? You know, this is all your fault. If young parents like you would just take this bull by the horns and discipline these kids more, we wouldn't be having these troubles." And she followed my sister-in-law out to the car. At the car, stood there yelling at her while she locked her door, and she was in tears over this. Now, that's an extreme example, but don't tell me this can't happen. Most of you have had these looks thrown at you about your child, and sometimes it goes up a notch. So you better get a thick skin about the public that doesn't understand this disorder. Now, there's a cognitive therapy technique that you can use. While you're looking at these people, you can be saying in your mind, "What's it to you, pork face?" But I don't want you to say it out loud, right? This is just cognitive therapy. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. If you had one of these kids, walk a mile in my shoes. But just shut up, drive on, get on with your life. But you better get good at forgiving the public their misunderstanding, because boy, do they misunderstand this disorder. I'll hang around for a few questions, but I hope you enjoyed the 30 things families need to understand about ADHD. Thank you.